Hello there! What's going on, guys? Welcome back. The update that everyone's been waiting for, the big yellow elephant in the shed. Barrage, KingBarra. So obviously at this point where we are now, we're almost exactly 1 year behind schedule. So yeah, we're about a year behind schedule. We don't intend to get any further behind schedule on it. That's 100% the case. But anyway, we have been making moves. So the past sort of 2-3 months, it's not as if we haven't been working on it. It's just been steady progress of quite a few small things, which have been a big headache. But this past week just gone, we finally made a lot of good, nice visual, big steps forward that would warrant obviously now doing a video to catch up all of the little bits of progression that have been happening over the past couple of weeks. So I'm going to try and keep this video as entertaining as possible without obviously just drabbling on about what has happened, but at the end of the day, it has just been a lot of small stuff. But as you can see, big, awesome, nice to look at. We've got some color on this thing finally. It has been a bit of a challenge getting the color down. We've had some pretty crap weather lately, and obviously a shed full of other cars. It's taken a little bit to finally get everything out of the shed in order to spray this thing and have some good weather for painting, because obviously we don't have a controlled environment for painting. But the result is incredible. So big credit to Rex, a weapon on the gun, a man of many trades, many skills, and he's done a great job. And sitting here looking at it now that it's painted, we are so glad we went through the trouble and the effort to make sure it happened. Given what our final vision for the car is, if it was left the way it was, it definitely wouldn't have the same effect when it's finished. So we are super excited. You can see the cover we've got there as well. It looks absolutely amazing. We've dummy fitted it on the dummy engine with the intake manifold and stuff like that. The thing just looks magic. It's exactly what we were chasing. It was exactly what we had in our minds. And we are so excited to see this car done. It's going to be awesome. So that has been, a big leap forward with this thing, getting this firewall painted. And absolutely stoked, wrapped with the results. So we couldn't be more keen to finish this car off, guys. You guys know we've had a terrible year. That's all we're going to say about it. We're not going to go back into that. It's not as if we haven't wanted to really just get this thing done. It's just about all we've wanted to do for the past 6 months. And it's been really annoying that we've had so many setbacks and been in the position we've been in. But, getting back into it, getting some results, it's very, very motivating and awesome to see. So we are excited. So that's the biggest notable leap forward at the moment, is that we finally have color on the firewall. We have finally got cover on the cover. So probably the next video is going to be engine video. I'm trying to get it together so that all the stuff's in one video. I don't want this car to keep dragging out and be a 20 million episode saga. So now that we've got that, we can do a final reveal and stuff for the engine. We'll get that sorted out and fixed up, and that'll be the next episode. But the best thing about the firewall being this way is now it can actually all start going back together and just go back together. There's no more temporary things. Dummy engine won't have to go back in this thing. It's just a matter of starting to get it all back together now, get the engine in this thing and start getting it together and seeing it come together. And it's going to be freaking wicked. Can't stress over. Right, boys and girls, we've got an otherwise empty workshop. We've got a beautiful fine day. It's about as still as it ever gets up here on top of the mountain. It's never really still, but it's as still as it gets. And it rained yesterday afternoon, so it's not ridiculously humid. It's a really nice temperature. We literally couldn't ask for a better day to be laying down some paint. So let's try and get some paint on this firewall. We've also got the cover for the Barra here ready to go, which is awesome because once this is painted, we can finally do the big reveal on the big Barra. So this is a really good leap forward to finally get some of this color happening. So let's get onto it.
Pheromones get under my skin as it latches, it breathes and it dries. Yeah, it spreads like a cancer is dying until something inside me dies. So come on, let's go get your story straight, then we'll get to your reasons why. It was good, it was fun, it was free, it was nice, but I've turned to a villain with time. Jealousy don't look good on me. Jealousy don't look good on me. Stop thinking jealousy. Am I alone with a wedding mask? It might be cold when you're by yourself. If I erupt, it's 'cause I needed you. Say it away, I don't want it. It's a what the hell is wrong? Just so easy to see what was always gonna set still. Anxious to feel like an uncolon, desperate the taste of the food on the salad fork. So I got upset, drove by your balcony, and I could swear you were smoking cigarettes. Wait, I just think I saw two silhouettes, and then away, I don't want it. Jealousy don't look good on me. Jealousy don't look good on me. Stop thinking jealousy. Well, am I alone with a wedding mask? Well, it might be cold when you're by yourself. Well, if I erupt, it's 'cause I need you. Say it away, I don't want you thinking jealousy. Yeah, I thought you said just going out with the girls tonight. Terry's not a girl, Terry's a guy. Why'd you Terry? Who is he? What? Stop thinking jealousy. Well, am I alone with a wedding mask? Well, it might be cold when you're by yourself. Well, if I erupt, it's 'cause I need you. Say it away, I don't want you thinking jealousy. Stop thinking jealousy. I'm thinking jealousy.
So as you could probably hear, guys, I'm sick as again. I had decided I wasn't going to film this update today, this morning, but sort of got to a point where I really wanted to get it out, and I want to get it out there. I actually was trying for a long time to get someone out to sort of help me with this update and film for me, so I didn't have to vlog it like this, because I want to try and do a bit more of that, but everything I tried to organize would fall through. It's really hard to get people out here to help, so here you go. You get the vlog version, but it's coming to you. So again, we have so much old footage that's coming, old content that's coming out still, so much still to come. I know last week I said it'd be back on a regular schedule, but we ended up doing a lot of late nights again last week, and we've been sick, and it's just not been a good week. So still really delayed on the old footage, but I thought I'd sort of just do this to try and break it all up a bit, because there's a lot of LS stuff and there's a lot of other stuff, and I sort of want to break it up a little bit. So time for the update, but yeah, as you just saw from that little montage, it looks amazing. It looks incredible. Things are, yeah, we are excited is an understatement. So other small things that have happened, you know, we've actually sorted out the bonnet latch situation. We talked about having the BMW bonnet latches, the small one on each side, because of the intercooler and everything else that was going on in the front end. We didn't really have room for the latch, but Rex actually figured out a way that we could make room to run a standard bonnet latch, which is obviously easier for us, but then the owner was also talking to another company that makes an infill panel, which they're pretty excited to come on board as well and make him a panel that's going to tie all this together and sort of hide all this with the bonnet open a little bit, and once again just be a really good thing to add to the engine bay for what it's going to be, and that's awesome. So that's been a pretty big leap forward as well. Where I left is in the last episode, we were talking about how we'd found someone to do all of the coating. So this was all done by KingBarra Coatings and Sandblasting, which is in the north side of Gympie up near Chatsworth, and he did a freaking amazing job. It's really dusty at the moment. This one's all covered for paint, so it's not overspray, it's just dust. It's been sitting here for too freaking long, but yeah, some awesome work as far as the powder coating and the ceramic coating of the exhaust housing and manifold and stuff. So as you can see, everything's black, like we talked about. Black everything, color coded cover, and a few other little bits and bobs, tidbits that are really going to tie everything together. So can't thank KingBarra Sandblasting enough. They've done a freaking wicked job. And yeah, just another thing, we're so excited to start getting this thing together. It's going to be so awesome. Another thing that we did get sorted in the last few weeks was our wiper motor relocation. So generally the H-Series, or usually the H-Series has the wiper motor right on the front of the firewall here. It's a big, bulky, cumbersome, annoying thing. And it was sort of right between where the cover and the exhaust sort of were, and there was nothing in front of it to really hide it. It's right up top, and it was not very nice. So there is actually a company that make a wiper relocation kit, and that relocates the wiper motor to the inside of the cowl, out of sight. It seems like a really straightforward thing. We were expecting that it was going to be a very straightforward install. It was not. Had to go cut and shut the wiper arms and well, not arms, I don't know what you call them, the linkage arms for the wiper motor. There was a lot involved in that we weren't expecting, but worth doing. Outside of that, obviously very good kit, very clear instructions. We were really stoked with the way the kit was. And they have just a plate which goes over the old wiper motor holes, which we actually color-coded beige as well. So that'll go in there with some nice little button head bolts to dress it up. And that should just blend in. So that's about the last thing on the firewall. As these guys have seen with the vintage air kit, there is just a flat plate that covers where the fan box and stuff used to be. So that's just a flat black plate. Then we're going to have our black booster and our new black Bear Brakes master cylinder. So, and that's essentially going to be it on the firewall. So very, very, going to be very tidy. Really excited for how it's going to come together. But yeah, so that was another thing that has been sorted, was our wiper motor relocation kit, and like I said, that was actually quite a bit of time. So the next thing, which will be a big leap forward for us, is because it's one thing that we still want to get sorted before the engine goes back in, was our custom column shifter gate setup that we've been developing. You've all seen it in this series. Custom developing a shifter gate setup for a column shifter. Now, really good idea, obviously. We did quite a few iterations of 3D printing before we got to one that we were happy with that cleared all of the fab work and everything. Unfortunately, that final product that we were happy with, we couldn't get CNC'd. So the people that were CNCing our parts, it just didn't work out. The CNC wouldn't do what we wanted it to do with that piece. So we had to change what we were doing or how we were going to manufacture it. And we've actually had to work out about getting it laser cut in a net and then essentially folding it and rolling it and getting it to the right shape and welding it together. So it's unfortunate in that it eats a lot of time, because obviously the dimensions of the net don't directly correlate to what we're going to have for CNC. So there's probably going to be a couple of revisions having to be made because of the new process. it's frustrating to know that that's going to take a bit of time. We're going to try not let it hold us up much at all. We're just going to keep going with getting the engine in and stuff. But the positive is that at the end of the day, it will be a cheaper way to manufacture the part, which means obviously when it comes to market, we can offer it at a cheaper price and hopefully have a few people that are fairly interested in doing like a gated column shift setup on their H series. I know we will be if we ever get to build some more H series. We're going to be doing a lot more column shift with gate shifters because that's freaking sick. So anyway, luckily for us, we do have someone quite local which we found to do the laser cutting. So we've just sort of been trying to draw that up or change the design in the 3D software to be flat so that we could get it cut and at net. But yeah, hopefully we'll have the first iteration of that back soon to have a go at getting it sorted. But yeah, that's one thing we would like to get sorted fairly soon. It's one of the key points of this car is that it, 6-seat with the bench front with the column shift, but can actually be driven. So we are pretty keen to get that sorted properly. So outside of that, we've come up with a solution for the handbrake setup. We'll show you that probably in a future episode when we've actually got the car in the air, we're fitting those. But that actually came about because Rex needed to find a solution for the shop ute. And we worked out that if we got sort of the same ones but shorter, it would work for this thing as well. They're a very similar design, and we tested the ones from the shop ute on this and it worked out pretty well with the way the bracket is. So we've got a handbrake solution to get the handbrake back operational, which is awesome. Rex has done a fair bit of work on the other brake lines as well, because there's quite a bit that's going to be changing with this with the new master. So a lot of just little fiddly things that they just take a lot of time. Just in between doing a lot of other stuff. Also, between us and the engineer, we've come up with a solution for the bonnet where we cut the bracing out to a factory standard where it can be mod plated and strong enough to go back on the road. So we've got a solution for that's happening. It is going to mean that the top of the bonnet's going to have to get repainted. So I've talked to the owner about that. But yeah, so that's probably going to be happening. Top of the bonnet will get repainted as well at the end. Probably not by us. That'll probably go back to the person who originally painted the car. Obviously, we're more than happy to do things like firewall and cover and stuff that's not a show finish on a top coat of a car like this. But we're not set up in this shed to be able to do that sort of painting. So that'll go back to that guy. So as you saw from that little bit of a montage as well, finally got the sump finished off, the sump and pickup. And it might look small, but that was actually an incredible amount of time that went into this thing. So there's a huge amount of time in this sump to get it to where it is, and the pickup as well. But obviously it's a very, very important part of the car. So really happy with it. We ended up moving the pickup quite far back. So it's actually quite far back in the hump in the sump. So, as far as a Kingswood wagon, probably not going to be looking at a lot of slosh to the sides. But as far as the sump design goes for oil surging, it should actually be quite good as far as all that's concerned. Doing some testing with the new sump on oil levels, getting the dipstick right in the new location, ensuring everything's the correct length for the levels for the oil, making sure nothing leaks. You would have also seen in the montage as well, sorted out our water fittings for the heater core as well as the AC fittings and stuff in the firewall, which had to be finished obviously before paint, but that will all end up hidden inside the inner guards and stuff, and all of those lines should be hidden in the car for the engine bay. And as we talked about, we've got very, very good plans for how we want this to actually come together as far as the engine bay is concerned. So we've also come up with a bit of an idea. So this is the like the old H series wiring, which goes through this part of the bulkhead in the firewall. In the theme of, obviously, as we talked about, a lot of people up in arms about us putting a Ford in a H series, but like we talked about, we built mounts off the original mounts. We scalloped the cross member a little bit, but plated it back over. Nothing we've done is irreversible. You could easily swap a Holden 6 back into this thing, or even a V8 if you wanted to, without having to change much. So what we're going to do with the original wiring, which is a lot of the original wiring from the 186, is actually just tuck that up in the inner guard. Obviously tie it up all nice out of the way, but it will be hidden. You won't see it, but it will still be there. So once again, if anyone ever wanted to just pull the Barra setup out and just put a Holden back in this thing, just like that, super easy, nothing that's irreversible. Anyway guys, I think that's about it for this particular update. That's pretty much like we talked about. This is a huge leap forward as far as the car goes, getting the color down on the firewall and stuff and getting it to this stage. It looks like a lot of work, and there is still quite a bit of stuff to get through, but realistically, engine can go in, gearbox can go in, tail shaft's made, ready to go. All the fab stuff is done and it's coated. It just has to start being assembled on the engine. Once the engine goes in, the wiring is already done. Once again, it's just a matter of going through, plugging this stuff in. So like a lot of the hard work is really out of the way. We are really on the downhill of this car as far as just sort of getting it sorted. Obviously, got to get the shifter gate setup sorted. Oh, that's the other thing that I should show you guys that you probably hadn't seen yet. So we do have a final version for our Alt-Delete idler. It is CNC'd, it works. It works with the dummy engine, everything about it works properly. So from prototype to a final CNC'd unit. And this obviously, for this application, is very good because you have a steering box in the way. But also, I think for a lot of people putting Barras in patrols and Land Cruisers might encounter a very similar issue with the steering box. I'm not sure because we haven't done one yet, but this part may work for those as well. And yeah, like we talked about, really handy in that you get to keep the standard belt route, you get to keep the standard tensioner setup, which makes things easy to replace and work on. And yeah, it's a really nice looking part as well. So if anyone's chasing one, hit me up. If it's something that you're interested in, you know, it works well. If you just happen to be new here, I'll take you through what this actually is. So because of the H-Series steering box being where it is, so that's our H-Series steering box there, which is right on that chassis rail, right off that side of the engine. And that's still the manual steering box. We still have to put the power steering box back here, but it's actually a little bit bulkier again. So there's not a lot of room there in this area on the engine. And as I'm talking about, I think a lot of people with patrols and Land Cruisers will probably find the same thing because they're going to have a very similar placement of the steering box, but I could be wrong. But anyway, so what we've done is move the alternator to a higher position. This is a pretty popular thing to do from factory on Barras because the stock power steering pump leaks oil into the alternator, which is underneath it, and kills alternators. So a lot of people switch these around. Alternator up here, power steering down here. Obviously power steering down there is not going to work for us, which is why we have converted to an electronic power steering setup. Which you can all see in earlier episodes of this build. But to remove the accessory that was here, all of a sudden you have an issue with belt route and getting enough rotation on this pulley, on the water pump pulley, and keeping everything happy. And once you start to try and change the belt route and change things around, you have to start looking at alternative tensioner setups. It starts to get messy and annoying. So our solution, come up with this little idler bracket, which goes in place of where the stock alternator location would be. Takes the same idler that the timing cover takes, so it's an easy part to get, replace and find. And this allows us obviously to keep the exact same belt route, all while saving all of the room that would interfere with the steering box down on this side, which, you know, same belt route, same tensioner setup, keeps things nice and simple. So that's what that piece is that we 3D designed, printed, prototyped and ended up producing. So a huge big thanks to SP Automotive Engineering, Deception Bay. They've been CNCing all of our creations, so big thanks to those guys, and a huge big thanks to Whitey's Wiring at Clontarf, who has actually been 3D printing our prototyping and helping us out with that. So that's been a huge help too. So thanks to both those guys. Anyway guys, I think that's about the entirety of the current update on the car. Obviously at this stage, now that we do have this, you know, all the shed space, and we've gotten rid of a lot of the other smaller jobs, and sort of the rest of the year, the remainder of the year is pretty much just going to be this car and one other car. So, you know, updates between here and now should be a bit more frequent, but as I said, going to try and work them into some other content to try and break up some other content. But super, super excited for where we are on the car. Like I said, we're only a year late, but the most important thing to us is that it gets done exactly how we are envisioning it, because it'll be worth the wait as long as it's done right. If it's rushed and it's crap, then it's not worth the wait, everything's wrong. But it's done right, and we are super excited about actually having taken the time to make sure the firewall was done properly, because it's going to make a lot of difference to the final product. We're really excited about it. So thanks for watching, guys. Big thank you to barratheworld.com. Been a huge help with this project. You'll see a lot more from them in the next episode where we're getting the engine together. We'll go through that quite in depth. But yeah, happy days. Excited about this thing. Thanks for watching as always. Head to the merch store, buy yourself some merch. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button and the little bell so you don't miss anything. And we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks guys. Peace out. See you. Bye.